things that we're going to do in Dale Carnegie, we truly believe in, is starting with a warm-up. Why do you think it's important for us to start with a warm-up? Loosen up. Okay, the Final Four, the March Madness just happened. When you look at those basketball players and they're hitting the court, what are they doing? They're warming up. You got two lines, and one line you have players going down the court to do layups. The other side is rebounding. The rebounders then pass it to the next person that does the layup. Then the big reason for that is so that also the team can be able to get connected. So that's another reason why we want to do a warm-up. But the way we're going to do a warm-up today is going to be around the subject of storytelling. So for us to be able to do this, I'm going to need 5 volunteers just to come up here in front of the room, and then I'll give you the instructions after that. So 5 brave souls. Promise, every time I've asked somebody, no one's died. Morning. All right, 5 brave souls right here. Your name, sir, is?
Phil?
Phil? What do you do, Phil?
Those pedal power beer bikes around the city?
Oh, yeah, I love those. We do it with our team every year.
Music to my ears.
Fantastic.
Dave Brown with United Way.
Awesome, Dave.
Ira Korn, Genesee Commercial Real Estate.
Fantastic.
Holly Dutcher, Cure of Childhood Cancer Association.
Thank you so much.
Julio Jordan, I bear Royal American Action League.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. Julio probably knows this game because he's an actor. So anybody who heard the game, pick it up from here. So what we do in the game, pick it up from here. I'm going to start the story. And then I'm going to give it to Phil, and then he's going to take over to that part of the story and come up with whatever he wants. And then he's going to give it to Dan, and Dan's going to go, and then so on and so forth. So we're just going to make up a story. And so then when we're done, at the end, when it goes to Julio, they're going to sit down, and then in your individual tables, actually, I'll have you two tables group it up so you can have a more interesting story. In your individual tables, you're going to continue Julio's part of the story. And you're going to come up with your own stories, and then we'll debrief them at the end. Sound good? Awesome. So there I was, pulling up with my team in a pedal tour to Frontier Field to go see a Red Wings game, and then?
It was $2 Jenny's before the game, so we had a few. We went to get some hot dogs, we sat down, and
We fell asleep because we had too much fun on the pedal tour. and we decided to go to
The Genesee Brew House. Of the river.
Well, we found ourselves wandering through the brewery and getting a first eye view of where the beer comes from, but then suddenly,
We decided that we needed something to eat and didn't want to eat at the Genesee Brewer House, so we went over to Tapas 177.
Awesome. All right. Everybody got that? All right. You can sit down, and you're going to go in your tables for the next 90 seconds, and you're going to pick it up from Tapas. Any questions? Can we have this group? You folks come over here, or vice versa? All right. Go.
all money. There were no smuggling. And everybody went back to Genesee Brew House. Yeah. Well, no, Rochester is where we ended up big time. How I ended up here back in Midtown was on a horse.
All right, time. I noticed something on everybody's face during this exercise. What do you think I noticed?
Smiles.
Everybody was smiling. What was the thing you heard the most in this room?
Laughter.
You heard a lot of laughter. Does that mean you were having a good time?
Yes.
So guess what that means? What's storytelling? It's a what? It's a good time. It's a fun time. So during your stories, could you actually picture what was happening when you were talking? So you can see it in your head, even though it's completely make-believe. So what I'm interested in is what did you talk about? What were some of the stories that happened? Who'd like to volunteer and tell us your group story? Yes, please stand up, sir. We're in storytelling. Your name is?
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah.
What'd you talk about?
So we got to top was 177 and the phone rang, and it was my daughter, and she said she needed bail money. And
That happens.
we didn't know why, and then we found out that she had been smuggling poodles.
Internationally, not just American foods.
And we got her out.
Awesome. Give him a hand. Anybody else smuggle some poodles? No poodle smuggling? Awesome. Well, great. Who else would like to go? Another story. Please stand up. Your name is?
Hi, Cecilia.
Hey, Cecilia. Where are you from?
Rochester.
Great.
Rochester Global Connection. That's my organization.
Very nice.
Yeah, ours was stayed true to the Rochester story. Compost is too full, so we had to go then get a garbage plate and compost.
There you go.
And then we were so full that walking back on, or going on our pace bikes, and Oxide was having some music lessons to try out some African drumming.
Wow.
So we ended up drumming throughout the night and then watched the sunrise at the Frederick Douglass Mississippi Bridge.
Well, that's great. Give her a hand. That's a very Rochesterian story right there. Very Rochesterian story. So, with storytelling is a communications tool for us to be able to create one of the most transformational pieces to what us as humans make ourselves different than robots. And it's called empathy. And what empathy is to be able to put yourself in that person's shoes. And so during storytelling, it's one of the times that your brains are actually aligned with the other person that's talking. So it's such a powerful tool for us to be able to sell our ideas and influence. Now, typically what we see is most people, they'll shy away from it. What do they usually do? How do they usually get their message across? They show everybody spreadsheets, data. But my father over here taught me early in my career, facts tell, stories sell. And so that's what we're going to be able to focus on today, is to be able to look at how are we going to utilize storytelling, and we're going to leave here with ways to better tell our story, so therefore we're going to have something, an action that we can be able to take. Does that sound good? All right. And it's going to be completely interactive. And Dale Carnegie, we do not believe in lecturing. We believe in giving folks tools and getting people to do things. So if you need to, there's more coffee over there because it's going to be a lot of energy. All right? So the different type of stories that we have, that we typically give, we give a warning story, a success story, a humorous story, a branding story, and a parable. So what we want to do is when we're telling stories, is we want to get people to action. And the way that we get people to action is be able to create discomfort or some kind of angst that it's either a missed opportunity or something that could happen, the doomsday that could happen. Or it could be, what the two I like to call it, the way I like to group these two together, is anybody ever hear somebody talk when they're on the soapbox? Okay, what's the soapbox like? What's that? Annoying. How do you mean by annoying?
You just feel like you're being talked at.
You're being talked at. What else are they doing? Are they talking about something they're happy about or upset about? They're upset about it, right? So you got the soapbox, and then you got the other one, and it's called the stage. Okay, when somebody's on stage and they're talking, what are they usually talking about?
Bragging.
Bragging themselves, something that they're proud of, something that they say, this is something you've got to do. I want you to be able to do this. So what we're going to do is that we're going to think about, and we're going to just think about a story. It could be a soapbox, stage story, warning story, success story. The last time that you wish that you were better at storytelling. So it could be a client that you were talking to, it could be when you were in a meeting, whatever it is. Think about the last time that you wish that you were a better storyteller. Okay? And then what we're going to do is after you think about that, we're going to have you find a partner, and you're going to tell that story. And then through that, what we're going to start doing through that story, we're going to start adding different structure and different components. So then therefore, you'll have a tangible tool and a tangible progression. Sound good? All right. Take 30 seconds, think of that story.
Can you tell us what story we're supposed to be thinking about again?
I'm sorry. The last time that you wish you were better at storytelling.
Okay. Last time you wished we were.
Yeah, better. That you. It could be you wish you rose your hand and you spoke up in a meeting, or you're welcome. Everybody got one? No. No? All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get up, find a partner, and with your partner, if you haven't had one, you and your partner are going to start coming up with one. And I'm going to raise your hand, and I'm going to come around the room if you do not have one. So everybody get up, stand up, and find a partner. Time. Take your seats.
With your partner?
Oh, no, yes. Sit down with your partner. Take a seat.
I'll sit here.
All right, we got the cobwebs off a little bit more. Anybody here listen to a good story? Raise your hand. No one listens to a good story. Good. We'll have a lot to be able to accomplish for today. So, what makes a good story? What are the typical things that make a good story?
Good outcome.
Okay, good outcome. What else?
It's gotta be real.
Huh?
It's gotta be real.
How do you mean by that? Not made up. Okay. What else?
Authentic.
Authentic? Tell me more about that. What's
So we
on?
were talking about how you can tell if somebody's like feeding you a line,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to something that they believe in and that they have. It's in their heart. It's in the words they use. It's
Sure.
In, how passionate they are about what they're telling.
Right.
So that authenticity shines through.
So what you're saying is not what people say, it's how they're saying it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay? And that's 100% of the truth. Actually, there's research done by UCLA that talked about storytelling and how the most thing, what people really pay attention to, 80% of it is how people say things. And that 20% is basically what they say. But what usually stumbles us is what? Thinking of something to do what? To what? To say. Think of something to say. Even though that's only 20%. Now, typically when you see people up in front of the room, what makes the story? It's how they're saying it. So, sorry. This is what the areas of word emphasis, pause, a pace, voice modulation, dialogue, so creating characters, detail. Now the thing is about detail, is how much detail do we want to give in stories? Just enough. You ever hear somebody say, long story short? Okay, sit down, it's going to be a long story. All right, there's going to be a lot of details there. Movement. Now the thing about movement is, if I was doing this the whole time, what are you paying attention to? Me walking around, are you paying attention to what I'm saying? No, you're not. So we want to be able to make sure that our movement is through stance and going and exploding it through our arms to be able to show the enthusiasm. Because all that energy, the other energy, will be able to be utilized in our voice. Okay, now, how is enthusiasm shown?
Body language.
Okay, body language. What else?
Voice projection.
Voice projection, how do you mean?
Your tones.
Yeah.
Just so you're not monotone the whole time.
Okay, so you don't want to be a monotone, you want to be able to have ups and downs, okay? Have you ever heard somebody speak that talks really fast? Okay? And then anybody ever have those moments? Okay, you know what those moments are? Your brain trying to catch up to your mouth. And so typically when we see that we want to be able to get rid of those moments, we have to tell ourselves, slow down. We do a program on presentations where we videotape people. And I'm going to tell you, 10 out of 10 times, the way we think we come across, we do not. And the reason why is, we'll say, well, if I go any slower in my pace, I am going to sound terrible. I'm going to sound, what's that, Ben Stein, the Bueller? What's his name?
The dry eyes guy.
Dry eyes, that's right. Yep. But then they look at it and they say, oh my gosh, I actually go slower. and I could give more energy. So the whole thing is, it's however we think we're coming across, we're not coming across. Now, this morning, when you were getting here, and you were sitting down, did you say to yourself, boy, I hope this presenter had a good meal. And I hope he got a really good night's sleep. And so I really hope that his drive-in was just uneventful so that he could be able to do a great session. How many people were thinking that? Alicia was, of course. She's our marketing person. She's like, I hope so, because he's going to... So, what were we thinking about? Huh? Oh my gosh, there's an accident in 590, and oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting up this early to do this, but I'm going to go there anyways. And so, what are we thinking about? We're thinking of who? Ourselves, right? So typically when we get in front of the room and we're in the point of presentations, who do we end up thinking about? Us. And so when we're thinking about ourselves, who's thinking of the audience? Just the audience. So a part of being able to do this is to stop not to think of ourselves and say, what does the audience need from me? How much energy does the audience need from me? How much enthusiasm? Instead of, when we typically are up here, what's going through our minds is, boy, I hope I don't sound like a fool. I hope I don't look like an idiot. And it's but who should we be thinking of? Is the audience. That's right. So, how many of us sit down in a meeting and say, boy, I can't wait to watch a really bad presentation? Did anybody else hope that? No. What do we want to watch? We want to watch what kind of presentation? Informative and engaging presentation, something that has meat to it. So you know what that means? The audience wants you to win. But who's the one that ends up holding us back during this? It's ourselves. So, what we're going to do is, we're going to continue with this story, but we're going to look at, on your workbooks, in your table, talk about these in your table. Which one do you think that you want to be able to, if you felt that you got better at, that it would help make your storytelling that much better? Out of these lists, and this is, there's no pages in the workbooks, it's underneath the guidelines. Everybody have that? So we're going to take 1 minute, talk about it within your tables, about the one that you want to be able to focus on. And then when you do that, have it starred, highlighted, whatever you have. Ready? Go. Ten seconds. All right, time. So, we've got the one that we're going to look at focusing on, which is the one that we think that would help us really amp up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add some more structure to our story. And as we tell our story again to our partner, we're going to think of that one word, we're going to tell our partner that one word, and we're going to really, if it's pausing, if it's enthusiasm, we're going to do it 10 times. Okay? Why do we do it 10 times? Here.
Practice makes perfect.
Practice, well, you know what practice makes? Does anybody believe practice makes perfect?
No.
What's it make? It makes permanent. So if you do it the wrong way over and over, guess what you're going to be doing? Permanently the wrong way. And what happens is what those things hold us back. So years ago, I was on an airplane. And I was sitting next to this guy, and he was telling me about how he creates these flea farms. Anybody ever hear of these flea farms? So people have flea farms, right? And they're put in these like little boxes, and they go around. I'm like, geez, why would you have a flea? Like, who buys those, first of all? And I guess it's a thing. And I said, second thing is, I would never want one of those because I would be afraid that the fleas would do what? Get up, jump out of the box. So I said, how the heck do you do this? And he says, well, it's very simple. You put a good spot where, you know, that the fleas can't crawl out, but then instead of them jumping, what you do is you put a board over it. And then they'll jump, and then they'll continue to try to jump, and they'll realize that they can't get out and they can't go far. And then you take the top of it off, and they're trained that they're not going to jump like that. Okay? So, I know, kind of sick. But it intrigued me. And the reason why it intrigued me because what stops us from jumping as human beings?
Perceived obstacles.
What's that? Perceived obstacles. Where do those perceptions of obstacles come from? Ourselves. And the deep-rooted issue is because at some point we failed at it. Or we look like a fool. And we're too busy thinking about, we don't want to do that. So what I'm going to say is, let's jump high. And so that's why we want to give it 10 times more. And we want to give it 10 times more here because when we get in the real world, will we give it 10 times more there? Huh? No. Guess how far we'll go? Probably about a 5. But that 5 is going to be more than our 3. Make sense? All right. So, as we're structuring the story, technology issues. All right. To avoid it, get a Mac. Just a joke. I'm only serious. All right. So, in the structure of the stories, think about the story they talked about. Okay, think about what are the characters, what's the context, is there any conflict? Why is there Why do we need to have some kind of conflict?
Because people want to hear it resolved.
They want to hear it resolved, okay? Like, think about movies, all right? What if there was anybody watch that last Creed, Creed movie? You know what happened in that Creed movie? Adonis Creed goes in there and he gets the crap beat out of him. You know, Rocky didn't want to deal with him. And then guess what? Rocky came back in there, he showed Apollo Creed what he had to do, and then what happened? He won. He won the fight. If you didn't see the movie, I'm really sorry about destroying the whole thing. But if you've seen one Rocky movie, you've seen them all, okay? But the thing is, it's people want that. If that movie was in that movie, if he would have won that fight, and then him and Rocky are just talking about life for the rest of the movie, who's going to really watch that movie? No one. Okay, and then the whole blockbuster of the sagas of these Rocky movies will be gone. So that's why we want to be able to make sure there's some kind of triumph that we're doing. There's some kind of obstacle, some kind of conflict that we've overcome, or that the person that we're talking about needs to overcome. Does that make sense? All right. Opportunity. People, again, the thing that people are one of the most fear of is missing out on something. So what's the opportunity? Resolution and the message. So as you have, and I'm sure in your stories, somehow, if you don't overthink it, you have it all over there. Because that's typically what ends up happening is, how many times are we guilty of overthinking? So don't worry about it. It's not going to be perfect, but just think about what are those different pieces within your story. All right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get up, and we're going to have 3 minutes per partner, and you're going to have your story. Think about these areas. What's the structure of it that you have? And then what we're going to do is after this, we're going to tell our stories again. I'm going to make it even more simple. So we're just trying to make it so that we're flushing through it to what's natural, to add in a couple elements to it, to then really streamline it. Make sense? And think about that. And when we get to our partner, think about the one word that you want to be able to focus on. And your partner is going to be your accountability partner. They're going to say, okay, you could do more. You could do more. Because typically, I've never seen anybody say, do less. All right? So take 30 seconds, think about it on your own, and then we're going to get up after 30 seconds and we're going to go for work on this with our partners to tell the stories. Any questions? If not, I'm going to be walking around the room, and if you have any questions, just yank my coat.
Same partner?
Yeah, same partner. Good question. Not supposed to judge questions. That was what I was trying to say. How's Dan doing this morning?
All right, thank
Oh
you.
man, look at you, your social media and up.
I am. I'm on all of it.
Nice job. Appreciate it. How's Nick doing? All right. Man, there must be. Okay, this time, who heard a good story? Anybody heard a good story this time? We got one, we got another one. We get, so you know what this is? This is progress. It's one or two things. It's either progress or the caffeine is entering our bloodstreams right now. And we can physically tell ourselves to raise our hands. Usually early this morning, that's one of the two. So good, we're making progress. So now what we're going to do is we're going to streamline the story even more into doing, utilizing a process that Dale Carnegie called the magic formula. And the magic formula starts with the incident. So going right into an incident of something, of whatever the meat of the story is. Because a lot of times when we hear somebody and they start and they say, well, before I tell you the story, let me give you the background. Okay? And then what happens within like 5-6 seconds of you hearing the background? You start thinking about, what groceries do I got to pick up? Did I leave that iron on? Okay? Your mind starts wandering. Okay? So that's why we want to be able to start right with an incident. And when we start with an incident, you want to start with either a startling statement, or it could be like bang, pow, something that gets somebody in and rules them in, like, what the heck are we going to talk about? And we could go simply as time and a place. So the time that the story's happening and the place that you're at. Okay? So then when you get right into the incidents, you start telling your story within the incident. Now, have we ever heard somebody tell a story and it goes on and on and on, and then they end the story and they have no point? And then you just said, you know what? I can't get my 5 minutes back. Jeez. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a point. And the point has to benefit the other person. Okay? And it has to also have one action that somebody needs to take. Because are we telling stories just to tell stories, or do we want people to take action? Take action. Do something. Okay? Donate to Hochstein.
Yes, everyone should.
Everybody. All right? And then, if you're taking action, if you're going to have somebody take an action, then there better be a what? A benefit. What happens when we tell people 3 different actions to take? That's right. A confused mind says no every single time. So we want to be able to be as simplistic as one action. Not one of those, an action is really be determined and not just determination, but be passionate about it. And not just being passionate about it, but have the confidence. And there's going to be so many different benefits. You're going to benefit, you're going to make more money, and you're going to feel better about yourself. That's confusing. 1 and 1. So then the mind knows, okay, this is the way I need to go. And this is this is the result that I'm going to get. Would anybody like to hear an example? Since you're telling so many stories, do you want me to tell a story?
Let's hear it.
Ed over here is like, yes, I do, all right? You've had me work enough here. So, it was 3 years. I was at my back deck. Get a call from a client, and they told me about how they just missed another opportunity. And I explained to them, here's the reason why you've missed your opportunity. Okay, you did not close that deal. It's because your people are not communicating the benefit. And when your people are going up there, they're very technically inclined, they're engineers, which means they're not showing the passion, they're not showing the enthusiasm, they're worried about the what and not the how they say things. And he said, wow, you're kind of right on this. I've gotten some feedback around this before. And I told him, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna work with the next project team that's going for a project. And I said, and I want the toughest project of a sale that you could think possible. So they said, well, we have a project coming up where we want to get business with Cornell. And we've presented in front of Cornell 9 times, and we have not gotten business from them 9 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize your services for this. So I said, great. So we went ahead, we did it. Guess what happened? They landed a $35 million deal. Then they came back, and another deal came up at Cornell, and we did the same thing, and they won a $45 million deal. I really wish at that point I got 10% of all those earnings. So the action I want you to take is when you have a big opportunity, seek a professional to help you. And the benefit is you're going to increase your revenue. So how long ago was it? 3 years ago. Where was I? Back deck. What was going on in the situation?
Client missed an opportunity.
Client missed an opportunity. So then, what did we do?
Provided solutions, provided.
We provided a solution. We coached too. We coached them on their presentation. What was the action? What was the action?
Seek out a professional.
Seek out a professional. What was the benefit? Yeah, increase per, that's right. See how much easier and streamlined? So what we're going to do is take 1 minute, the story that you've been working on, put it into the structure, get right into the incident, right into the action and the benefit. So there's some lines right here where you can be able to jot your notes down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to practice this with our partner. And then after we're done practicing with our partner, we're going to tell the story in our tables. Okay? So first we're going to practice with our partner. Then after that, we're going to have 3 minutes to practice with our partners, their story. So each person should take 90 seconds. Got it? So take a minute, write down whatever you need, and then after that, I'll call, and then you find a partner. Ready? Go. I got to 11 o'clock.
Whatever you want, brother.
No, what's it, 9:30?
9:30 is the
Yeah, I should probably get done.
departure time. Yeah. So I got a few promos to do. And take
Perfect.
Just a couple minutes.
I should be done probably about 9:15ish. Maybe 9:20ish. All right, 10 seconds.
Right.
All right, time. Everybody get up, or if you haven't talked to your partner, if you haven't gotten to your partner, get to your partner. All right. How does the structure work? Pretty simple? Pretty easy? Did you hear a lot of background? Well, before I tell you, let me tell you about the relationship between my boss and I. No. All right, no? So we went right into the incident. How did our partners do? Did our partners do a good job? Yes. Good. Did our partners do a good job? Yes. All right, we want to make sure our partners hear us. Because now they're going to tell the story to the rest of their table, and they got to have the confidence to do it. So here's what we're going to do. In a moment, actually, I'm going to have these two why don't you join over here? We're going to make this a very big group over here, just so you have enough. Actually, I'm sorry. Why don't you join these two over here? I apologize. Join these two so that we could have. So what we're going to do is we're going to have at our table, we're going to keep centralized timing, 1 minute per person to tell our story, to utilize this formula. Now, do we all remember the word that we're going to focus on? Pacing, enthusiasm, whatever it is. So we have that? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with, don't say my name, but your name. So my name is Herb Escher, and I'm working on slowing down. Okay? And then I'm going to go into my story. So then the group, guess what the group is going to be accountable for? Telling you when you're doing good or slow it down. Sound good? All right. So here's what we're going to do. Can I get a volunteer from each group? One person raise their hand. One person raise their hand. All right. So volunteer, here's what your job is. First of all, do you know what you're volunteering for again? I have no clue. Dale Carnegie would like to reward our volunteers. So volunteer, you get to choose whether you want to go first or choose the person that's going to go first. All right? And then whoever goes, then that person will go, and then they're going to say, all right, you're next. Okay? Now, here's one more thing we're going to do. We're going to do the 1 minute. Then we're going to give 15 seconds. And in that 15 seconds, the group is going to tell that person what they liked about their story. Sound good? All right. So, choose who's going to go, and then we're going to get time and start in 10 seconds. All right, time. 15 seconds for feedback, go. All right, next person, go. 10 seconds. Get it. 10 seconds. You're thinking about yourself. Not the audience. All right. 1 minute, 15 seconds now for feedback. Go. All right, next person goes. See how fast? Look at it going. Go! 1 minute. This should be our last meeting for the bigger groups. still alive? Okay. Number one fear of the American adult is what? Public speaking. Guess what we all just did? We public spoke. All right? So we just conquered that fear that everybody fears. Why do we fear public speaking so much?
We don't want to be judged.
Exactly. Exactly. And then who are we thinking of? It's ourselves and not the audience. Did we all hear good stories? Okay. Did we have fun telling the stories? We had fun and people enjoyed listening to the stories. So why are we holding back? Fear, judgment. Okay? So, here's what we're going to do. So, everybody has got one of these little sheets of commitments, okay? Because the thing about Dale Carnegie that we believe is knowledge is not power. Knowledge is not power at all. Applied knowledge is power. So what we're going to do is we're going to set some commitments on how we're going to apply this. So if you can, fill out that sheet. But also, take this booklet, okay, and you're going to deface it, and you're going to rip the bottom half down, like this. All right? And then, because you're going to give that small sheet to us, but then you're going to take in this booklet, and you're going to write down what you wrote down there. Okay? And as you face the booklet, that first page, just do that. I looked at it, there's nothing but this. It's all right.
So I read off the edge of the closet.
There you go. You're committed to pausing. Sorry? You're committed to, so something that you're going to commit to. After the meeting today, what are you commit to? Are you going to commit to, you know what, I'm going to use this formula. I'm going to present in the meeting where I typically don't present. You know, I'm going to commit to think of the audience and not myself. I'm going to commit to, you know, giving in 10 times more enthusiasm in my next presentation. I'm going to commit to, you know what, purposely utilizing the pausing. So whatever you're going to commit to, based upon what you got out of this morning, is what you're gonna do. Your aha is what you're committed to. Make sense? So you're going to put it in 2 spots. And if you have a scrap piece of paper, that's okay. If not, the booklet makes a good scrap piece of paper. Rip that piece out, and then we're going to do something with that piece that you're ripping out. There you go. That's okay. You do it the way you got to do it. So what we're going to do is, everybody got their both written down on the scrap and on the sheet. So the scrap's for you, the sheet's for us. So you're going to leave the sheet at your table, okay? Leave this little document. You're going to leave it at your table, and we're going to pick it up because what we do at Dale Carnegie is we hold accountability. And so what we're going to do is hold it accountable to say, hey, how's it going within a week? We're going to see how's it going with that, whatever you did. Everybody got their scrap paper? All right, what we're going to do is everybody take your scrap paper, put it over your head. Okay? Now take that scrap paper and go like this. All right? Now you're going to go like this. If you have a pocket, put it in your pocket. If you don't have a pocket, you have a purse, put it in your purse. Now, the challenge is you have to keep this in your pocket every single day until you do it. All right? So you're going to, when you go to bed, you're going to put it on your dress or whatever you have, but then in the morning, you put it next to your watch or whatever jewelry that you put on, and you say, okay, I got to put it in my pocket. All right? Until you do it. Then you're able to celebrate it, you can rip it up, or you can keep it and say, you know what? I'm going to keep this challenge going. I had one person, and their paper looked so used and abused, and I'm like, what's going on with that? And he said, well, I took that challenge, and I'm going to continue to utilize that challenge so I can continue to get better. And I'm like, well, how many times have you done this challenge? He said, more than I can remember. So it's up to you with however much, but this is what your applied knowledge is. So, thank you all this morning. We've got some closing remarks from the Chamber from Dan. So, thank you so much. If you have any questions from us, we're here. We're here to serve you. Have a great morning and happy storytelling.